I'm um I'm really ready for this season to be over for multiple reasons. All right, it's the day after Seahawks lose to the Cardinals at home, a team that has nothing to play for, a team that is probably going to be going through some pretty serious overhaul this offseason, coaching and player-wise. And they come into Seattle, who has everything to play for. We have first round buys and seeding to play for, and they take care of business. And there's been this sickness with this team this whole season, even when things were going good. And they did go good in a few games. I mean, you don't win 9 games by an accident, but it has not felt right at all. And after this game, there's obviously at least 2 games left. We got the Niners next week and at least one playoff game, but I'm ready for this season to be over. There's no Super Bowl this season. There's no winning the NFC. There's you get a playoff game at home. You'll probably win that, and then you're going to Dallas or Green Bay or whatever, and it's not a happy ending. There's so many emotions that you go through watching this game if you're me, and I was ready to lose it yesterday a little bit. I wanted to make a video and just kind of just lose it, just say what I want to say, just let it rip, because just to talk about the team that has been assembled by this front office and this staff, it's really kind of unbelievable that things have deteriorated to this point, and people who we know are brilliant football minds allowed it to happen. You start with the offense, and I don't even need to say what it is. Everybody knows. The offensive line isn't getting better. It's getting worse is the thing, and I'm ready for somebody to go. I was kind of back and forth on it this whole season, but it's the 15th game of the season, biggest game of the year for us. It's a game that really decides so much for our future. The offense has completely shit themselves over and over this season, completely screwed this team over in some of these games, and I'm like, okay, they can make it okay. It'll be okay if they figure it out now. And that first half, they looked like they may as well have been plucked from the street in the first game of the preseason. Everyone's out of shape. Jermaine Ifedi has no idea how to block a stunt. At least he's a rookie. Gary Gilliam and Mark Lewinsky, on some of those plays, they look like they don't belong in the NFL. And realistically, maybe some of them don't. And we have guys on this team, on this staff, in this front office who looked at that and went, that's good enough. We have a $90 million quarterback who we have bet our future on. This line is good enough. And we saw a whole half of offensive football that was ruined because the offensive line can't block anything. And one thing that I'm not doing anymore, one thing that I'm really fucking sick of, is you watch that second half, especially the fourth quarter, and you go, okay, that was a good, decent half of offensive football and the offensive line facilitated that. So we can build on that. I'm so sick of doing that because it happens in most of these games where you're like, oh, they had a good drive. They had a good quarter. They had a good 3 drives in a row. Now we're going somewhere good, and fuck that. I'm done. What happened to the first half is so bad that the rest of the game doesn't even matter. You score 21 points on offense in the fourth quarter. You almost come back and win this game. You almost push it to overtime. It doesn't matter anymore. Because what happened to that first half was not even NFL football. Like, even the worst team in the league should not be fielding an offensive line that bad, and I'm done with it. So I don't care if Tom Cable gets fired. I don't care if it's the players that all get let go. I don't care what it is anymore. I don't care if it's Darrell Bevell. At this point, I have to look at Pete Carroll and John Snyder, and I don't want those guys to go, but I want to look at them and go, what the hell were you thinking? Thinking that this would be acceptable? What is wrong with you that made you think this would work? Did you watch this in practice and go, yeah, this is good enough? So there's that. That's my rant on the offensive line situation. It's not that it's bad. It's that it's been bad for this long and it doesn't get better and it gets worse. And there's guys on it that don't look like they belong in the NFL. So it all really stems from that. The first half, we couldn't do anything on offense at all because the offensive line was absolutely pathetic. And they play better in the second half. I'm sick of giving them credit for that. I'm so sick of it. It doesn't matter. I mean, after that first half, they should have just stayed in the locker room and we could have played with no offensive line. And at that point, I would have been like, yeah, sure. Beyond that, it's hard to even really get mad at anyone else. I mean, Doug Baldwin played out of his mind. What is the hell is the point of trading for Jimmy Graham if you're not going to use him? I mean, whenever he's included in the offense, he does fantastic stuff, and then you throw him the ball 3 times, and now he's chewing out Darrell Bevel on the sideline because Richard Sherman did it, and now he has a license to do it. Just so much stuff you could talk about that's just messed up with this team right now. And, we're spoiled. We've been good for 5 years now. We've been the best team in this conference over the last 5 years. And you see a team like Carolina that just hits it big for 1 year and then they're just done. Before then, they were below 500. This season, they're under 500. So these are small problems. This is still a team that's probably going to win 10 games this year. That I think they'll probably win 1 playoff game, but something's wrong. No running game. Again, Thomas Rawls getting smashed every time he gets the ball. I feel bad for him. And of course, Jermaine Kearse, still 9 targets, 4 catches. Finally got a touchdown. Actually had some good plays today. Meanwhile, Jimmy Graham's got 3 targets. Just trade him if this is the best you can do. If I'm Jimmy Graham, I want to get the hell out of here. I want to find a team that knows how to use me. I mean, I don't know how Jimmy Graham goes into practice next week and doesn't just spend the whole time yelling like, do you know who I am? Do you know what I've done? This is ridiculous. Jermaine Kearse is some undrafted guy who wasn't even a superstar in college, and he doesn't get open, and he doesn't do anything right. Another offensive pass interference for that idiot, by the way. Really getting sick of that. It's like, I'm clearly the most talented player on offense after Russell Wilson. Can you please recognize that? And just to further hammer home this thing of me just being done with this season, Tyler Lockett makes an incredible catch for, down at the half-yard line, but it was a, long pass. Brilliant catch. Arizona defender grabs him before the ball gets there. Somehow doesn't get flagged, but it doesn't matter, obviously. He caught it anyway. Falls on his leg, breaks it. Devastating, season-ending, career-altering injury. Absolutely nasty. Absolutely disheartening. Not just for him, because he's such a young, talented, capable player, and now who knows what happens now, and it has to happen because some, asshole in the Arizona secondary, grabs him before the fucking ball gets there, which I guess is okay, but, it's not even that. It's the injuries, too, man. I mean, even a few weeks ago, we beat Carolina by 33 points, and I came out of that game like, because of Earl, and now we've got Tyler Lockett, just when he was starting to really get his game back. I mean, he caught the long touchdown last week. He had the 75-yard end around against the Panthers. He was really starting to put it together, and now I don't know if he's ever going to play football again, honestly. It was really freaking bad. So now we don't have that, which sucks not only for the man that is Tyler Lockett, the entertaining player that is Tyler Lockett, but now we have to implement Jermaine Kearse into this offense more. Right now, he should be implemented 0. He should not be playing football at all on offense. He should be a special teamer. Now we have to use him. Now we lose that dynamic talent on the outside. Now we lose the deep threat that can take the top off the offense. Now we're asking for Paul Richardson to fill in that role, and I like Paul, but clearly we've seen who's the superior player between those two. And it's just it's cruel sometimes, but oh my god. So yeah, that when that happened, I was just gutted. I was like, cancel this season, please. Just get this freaking thing over with. I'm sick of football. So sick of this. Sick of watching this offense spend entire halves looking like they don't belong on an NFL field. And now, whatever little hope we had of it getting better is gone, because a huge part of any optimism you could have about this offense going to the playoffs was, well, when the playoffs come around, we're going to have Rawls ready to go, who also got hurt. Hopefully not severely, because I feel bad for him, not because it really matters at this point. We're going to have C.J. Prosise, and we're going to have Doug Baldwin, Jimmy Graham, and Tyler Lockett all on the field. It's gonna be killer. We're going to have so many weapons. We're not going to know what to do with all of it. Well, we're not getting Tyler. We'll see about Rawls. We'll see about Prosise. And now there's nothing to even be optimistic about and hopeful about. Wow, I just went on for 11 minutes about the offense. That's how bad this is. But it's just insane how bad they've been multiple times this season. Rams, Dolphins, Cardinals, twice kind of, even though they ended up blowing up in the fourth quarter in this game. Packers. It's just... And then you keep thinking, okay, they'll get it together for the playoffs, and then they don't. And it's like, why should any of you have a job? It's like, I'm looking at Cable, I'm looking at Bevel, I'm looking at frickin' Schneider and Carroll. Everybody. Somebody's got to go. Something has to happen. We cannot look at this product and say this is good enough. Everybody deserves to keep their job. Defense. They played so good in the early parts of this game, and I had very little bad to say about any of them in the first three quarters. The long touchdown to J.J. Nelson, it sucks. It's Jeremy Lane, who was a guy who got picked on a little bit in this game, and it was Stephen Terrell, I think. It might have been McCray. Cam Chancellor was in and out of this game. And then it all just fades in that fourth quarter when you cannot stop anything. You give up the 33-yarder to David Johnson. Jermaine Gresham rips you for a big play. Britton Golden has a big play, and it's just disheartening because it's so hard to get mad at this defense because they played good for three quarters. They did. It wasn't perfect, but they gave up one big play, and then in that fourth quarter, when you really need them to just say, I know the offense is not pulling their weight, but just hold it together for a couple more plays, and we can get this win, and then you can bitch out the entire offense in the locker room after we get this W. But look, man, Richard Sherman, he needs to look inward a little bit, because last week in the Rams game, he was bitching out Darrell Bevell on the sideline, which, there's a part of it that I understand, and there's a part of it that's like, okay, now everybody's going to do it. Now Jimmy Graham's doing it. What happens next week? Is, Doug Baldwin going to do it? Is Thomas Rawls going to do it? But anyway, the point is, Richard Sherman bitching out the offense last week for not pulling their weight. Now you got to look inward at your own unit, because at the end of the day, in the fourth quarter, when we really needed some stops, there was one good stop to get the ball back when we were down 6 right at the end. Other than that, they cut through us, man. When they were trying to run out the clock, we could stop them, but other than that, they cut through us like it was nothing. David Johnson did a pretty good job on him. And then in overtime, of course, Cam Chancellor lets him get away for the one big reception he has the whole game. I mean, he had one big carry and he had one big catch, and of course it happens at the end of the game. I I'm sorry, not overtime, before the hypothetical overtime. Gave up, play across the middle to Fitzgerald that, made the field goal a lot easier. Um, Not enough pressure on the quarterback. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but look at what Arizona did to our offensive line. And look at our pass rushers, who I know are really good players, and be like, why can't we be like that? Why does Carson Palmer have all day on some of these plays? It doesn't make sense. It's not right. That needs to be figured out. And I don't want to kill the defense, but that fourth quarter had to come up with some huge plays, and we didn't. We folded, and it has to be mentioned in the autopsy report. And special teams, I can't even remember who our special teams coach, what his name is, but it's time to go. The special teams this year has been pathetic. Missing extra points, blocked field goals, blocked punts. It's all happened this year. And yesterday, everything happened. Missed an extra point that would have given us the lead. Missed a field goal that loomed large at the end of that game. Got it blocked. Blocked a punt that led to a touchdown. No big returns. I think Lockett had one decent return, or maybe it was Richardson. Just absolutely horrible. And we've had one of the best special teams units here for a couple years now. This year, I'm sure it's been one of the worst. And it cost us this game as much as anything else. I can bitch about the offense, I can bitch about the defense, but you expect a certain level of competency from your special teams, and we didn't get that. So yeah, one game left. We're in the playoffs no matter what. We won the division no matter what. We're playing at home in round one no matter what. There's a universe where we can still get a first round bye, but I am ready for this season to be over. Whether it's in the first round or the second round or the third round, it's going to end. It's going to end in Dallas. It's going to end in Green Bay. It's going to end in Detroit or Atlanta. I don't know. Might end in Seattle, but it's not our year. The injuries suck. I mean, Cam Chancellor's played half a damn season. Earl Thomas, obviously, devastating. Frickin' Tyler Lockett now. Wilson spent half the year limping around. That's all part of the reason why this year just ain't our year. But something's wrong. Something is really, really wrong. And I think we need to make some major moves this offseason. I'll say that. But they got a couple games left to prove me wrong. All right, video's gone on way too long, but there's way too fucking much to talk about. I didn't even make a pregame video for this. I didn't really know what to say, but I knew this was going to be a tough game, but there's no way in hell they should have beat us. And they did. And somebody needs to be held very accountable for that. And I know Pete Carroll is not the guy who's ever going to do this. And for the most part, it's great, but sometimes you just got to yell. You just want to yell at your players about how much they suck. And all right, one game left. I'm sure we'll beat the 49ers as long as we actually have something to play for, but tough to get excited. See you later.